Well, here we are. I'm checking in. I've got the rear brakes in, rear suspensions in. All of that stuff is done, ready to go, with the exception of the rear shocks. We're still welding roll cage to the upper shock mount area, and we don't want the shock in place, obviously, while we're still welding there. Now, on this car, I wanted to reduce the wheel diameter and go to a 15-inch wheel versus a 16 or 17-inch wheel. But in order to find a wheel that would clear my brakes and give me the width that I wanted for the tire, I actually had to change the bolt circle. So factory Ford Focus is 4 lugs by 108 millimeter across. And I've gone from that to a 4 lug by 100 millimeter across. That 100 millimeter across gives me a whole lot more options for 15-inch wheels than the 4 by 108 does. So we did re-drill all that. I did take care of all of that, and then that'll allow me to run an 8.5 or 9-inch wide 15-inch tire. That's really a nice thing because that shorter wheel is actually going to reduce the weight of the wheel and tire combination, even if the wheel is a little bit wider. And so that's nice because that takes unsprung weight off of the vehicle. Sprung weight is all the weight that's supported by the springs on the vehicle. Unsprung is anything that's not supported by the springs. So your brakes, tires, wheels, and a lot of your suspension components are unsprung. Therefore, if I can reduce that weight, I can drastically improve the characteristics of the vehicle. So that was a big deal to do that, and it pays big dividends. Now that the steering suspension, brakes are all done, it's time to really turn our attention to the manual transmission swap. So I'm going to start working on getting all of the shifter and everything for the automatic transmission out. I'll put the manual transmission shifter in, and right there, those 2 holes over there, that's where the manual transmission master cylinder and everything will mount. So I'll open up those holes, and then we'll remove the automatic transmission and throw that in the scrap. So the roll cage right now, kind of looking like this. It's getting busier and busier. There's a lot of bars and a lot of things going on, and it's going to work awesome. I'm pretty excited about the roll cage. So coming back around up here under the hood, I bought bushings so I could start making engine mounts, because that engine mount right there is really floppy and it'll allow way too much engine movement. So we use a universal urethane, and we'll get that out of that box there. I'm doing this one-handed. And so we'll bought these universal urethane bushings, and they have a 1.5-inch outside diameter, or excuse me, a 1.25-inch outside diameter. So I'll use a piece of 1.5-inch 120 wall, and that 120 wall 1.5-inch diameter tubing will allow this bushing to sit in there nice and snug, and then we'll build the brackets and everything else that'll allow to replace that really floppy mount that doesn't control engine movement well at all. So that's kind of where we're at. Going to be little fits and starts for a little bit longer here, and then we're still on track, though, to have this thing running before the first race of the season. It might actually be down on the ground and driving in the next, I'd say 4 weeks or so. So that's all I got for you today.